Okay, so this is video 5, part 5. Yep, part 5. And in this, we're going to fix the problem. The first thing we're going to do is fix the problem we had with the enemy spawning in. So let's just have a look at that again. So we had this set up, and if we hit play, I have fixed it, but I've undone it, so hopefully it won't. Okay, so the problem is we've got this guy, and he's floating above the ground for a start, which we don't want that. And when he spawns in, he's not moving. So we don't want that either. So how we're going to fix that is we're going to come over to the enemy BP. So we're going to open that up. And then we're going to click on this very top component, the enemy BP component itself, so the self. And then in the search details, type PAWN for pawn. Then come down to here where it says auto possess AI. So if you look at this, it's only auto possessing the AI, so then it will run all the AI things that we want when it is placed in the world. So here we want it placed in world or spawned. Okay, so really we could just set it to spawn because we're only ever spawning them in, but we'll just leave it at that. Placed in world or spawn. Okay, then hit compile. And what's not letting us hit the ground is this capsule component. So you can see that it's a little too large for our cube. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change the size of that. We don't need it anyway because we're not doing collision detection with it. So delete where you wrote pawn earlier, and then make sure you're clicked on the capsule component. And then over here where it says capsule half height, just drag that until it's inside your mesh like that. Maybe you want it to float above the ground, and if so, you can just leave it, but I'm going to set that up like that. And then I'm going to hit compile, and then I'm going to come over here, I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to see if that works. So now they spawn in, they constantly update their rotation towards me, and then when it hits me, it explodes. There were 2 explosions there. Also, it carries on spawning them in. It continuously spawns. Now I can shoot them when they hit me. Right now I'm on 0 health, so I would be dead. Okay, and we can go into minus. Right, so what we're going to set up next. So we've got our basic game loop pretty much set up here. What we need to do now is display some, like a score and the actual player's health. So what we're going to do is come to content, and we're going to create a new folder by right-clicking and then add new folder. And then you're going to, I'm just going to call mine HUD for HUD, but some people call it a GUI for game user interface or a user interface. I just call mine HUD. So I'm going to double click on that to open it up, right click, and then at the very bottom here, there's a user interface, and I want a widget blueprint. And then I'm just going to call that main underscore HUD. Then I'm going to double click on that to open it up. Okay, and so what we have here is a representation of our screen. Okay, so we have a canvas panel, and what we can do is we can place things from this side, from the palette, into here, and then they'll display on screen because this is like an exact replication of the screen. So the first thing we're going to need is a, let's try a horizontal box. Okay, so let's grab a horizontal box, bring that in, and then stretch this out to sort of the size you're going to want your health bar to be. Now I'm going to place my health bar pretty much in the top center like that. Okay, about that size, that'll do. And then, so you can see that now it's added that to my hierarchy here. So there's a canvas panel, and then inside the canvas panel, there's a horizontal box. Now, inside the horizontal box, we want to put a progress bar. So just type in pro, and then grab a progress bar, and that's going to add that into the horizontal box. Now what we want to do, we want that to fill this entire space. So if we just come over to the right hand side and where it says size and hit the fill, and that's just going to fill in our progress bar. Now if you come down to where it says appearance and open that up, oh, not appearance, where is it? Yeah, sorry, it is appearance. And what we want is the fill and color opacity. So if you click on that, you'll see that for now it's set to blue. This is going to be health, so we're going to set it over here to red. I want it to be a really saturated red, like that, and hit OK. All right, now if I go here where it says percentage and just left click and drag, we can see that filling up and down. But we want that linked to the player's health. So how we do that is where we were just playing around with the percentage, it's the little button called bind. Click on the little button called bind and hit create binding. Okay, so once that's done, what we want to do is we want to link these two things together. So from get percent, we're going to cast to first person character. And then from the object pin, we're going to get player character. And then from here, remember, this is where we access our variables. We're going to drag out from here and we're going to type get health. Then we're going to plug that into the return value. And because that's a float, that is going to just convert that from 0 to 1. So right now, if we look inside the player, so let's just quickly go and open up the player, click on him, open up his blueprint and click on health, we can see that it's set to 1. So if I set that to 0.5 for testing, and we'll have a look. Okay, so that's the code we need. Now to get back to your graph, you just back to your designer, away from the graph, you just click here for graph designer. That's how you go between. Okay, so we'll set that up, but we want to do something else as well. We also want numbers to be displayed, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to search in here text. Now, there's text in this text box. What we want is just text. So this time I'm just going to drag and place it inside my horizontal box like that. And then I'm going to want 3 of these text boxes. So I'm just going to drag it in again, place it on top of my horizontal box, and then that'll place it in there. And then again, drag that in. Oh, that one didn't appear. There. Okay. Now, but look, this isn't right, is it? We're placing them on top like this. So if we move them away, they will sort of like, you know. Why is that happening? That shouldn't. Just select that, move it back. Okay, so let me just try this again. So let me just delete those. So I'm going to grab those, delete those. A little bit of a mistake there. So horizontal box, let's just try dragging in this text, placing it there. And then can we use this to realign it? I thought we could realign it that way. Fill. Okay, that's causing a bit of a problem for us. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. We'll just line it up by eye. So we'll grab our text block like this, okay, and then we're gonna grab another one, and then another one, and we're just gonna line these up in a minute. So grab this first one. It's called text block, and then come over to where it says text, and where it says text block, I just want you to hit hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. Okay, and then we want that to be displayed from the center like that, and then we can resize that, and then we're going to do the same with this one. Okay, so no, we're not going to do the same with this one. For this middle one, we're going to hit we're going to come over to text block, we're going to hit space / space, then we're going to resize that. And then this one as well, we're going to do the same thing we did before, which is just hashtag, 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 hashtag. You'll see why in a minute. Now we're going to line these up on here. So there is a way to put these in the horizontal box, but I've just forgot the way to do it. We'll do it in another video, but it's not difficult to just get these lined up. Okay, so we've got that lined up. They're not exactly in the center there. We can come back and realign those. Just have a go at doing it now. Okay, so this is going to be like, so that's if 100 out of 100 health essentially, but obviously these numbers can go down. So again, what we want to do is we want to link these to variables. So let's click on this first one and come to where it says text, and then hit bind, and we're going to create binding. We're just going to do the same thing we did before, but a little different. So we're going to cast to cast to first person character. As the object, we're going to get player character. And then from the first person character, we're going to get health. Okay, but what we want to do is from here, we want to times health by 100, because obviously we're dealing from 0 to 1. So if we drag out from here and do a float times float, and then plug that into the return value, so the float is going to be times 100. Okay, that way we're turning our digits into whole numbers, and then we'll get 100. We should do anyway. And we also need to go in and create a new variable. So let's go back to the first person character, and where we create variables, we'll just here where it says variables. And what we want is a max health. That's right, max health variable. And that max health variable is a float. Okay. And again, we want to compile it, and then we get access to it. We want to set that to 1 as well. And we're going to do the exact same thing. Oops, let's go to the HUD. We're going to do the exact same thing. So we're just going to grab those and hit Control C to copy. And then we're going to go into the designer. Click on this second hashtag, not the space /space, and hit bind, create binding. And we're just going to hit CV to paste that in. But this time, we're not going to get health. We're going to get max health. So get the max health, delete that one, plug that into there, and then let's plug in these rest of these nodes. So that one needs to go into there, that one needs to go into there, and boom, that's done. Okay, so that should all be set up. But let's go. We haven't. So if I hit play, nothing shows because we haven't told it to draw on the screen yet. So we need to go and do that. So we'll go into the player and we'll do it in there. So what we want to do, we want an event begin play. Now, remember I said we can only have one of these red nodes. So because I've already got one, it just took me straight to it. So look, we can just run off this as sequence. Okay, so it's still going to do all this, but now we can do our code that we want to do. Bring these over here because we'll probably add more pins to this later. And we want to create widget. The widget we want to create is the main HUD. If you're following along, calling it the same thing. If not, just find the one that you created. And then we want to add to viewport. Viewport or add to player screen, they both work. So add to viewport, and then if we hit compile now, we should see all that working. And it is, but there is a little problem because it isn't displaying the max health. And I think that's because we did compile. Let's see what's going on there. We did some copying and pasting, so that's probably where we've made a mistake. So open up the HUD, go to the designer, make sure we're in the correct one. So this one, and then this is called get text 1. So go back to the graphs, and like we can see them here. We've got get %0, get text 0, get text 01. We could have named these, but oh look here, this is why, because we haven't connected that there. So hit compile. Now remember we set it down to 50%. So look, that is all working. We now have a HUD on the top of our screen. When we take damage, it all registers. It's all linked. Obviously, right now we don't have it set up to stop at 0 and then for us to die. We'll do that in the next video. But also, what we're going to do really quickly: go back to our HUD, go back to our designer, and in the player, we're going to add another variable called score. And again, this could be a integer because it's always going to be whole numbers, so it might as well be an integer. And what we want to do is when we destroy an enemy, we want to add one or add something to this score. So let's quickly do that. So let's go to the HUD and set up something to display that. So all we need for that is a text. So if we go up here, and type in text, and then bring in this, and I'm just going to have the score display just underneath here, just like that. For now, I'm just going to call this no. So we're going to have two text boxes. We're going to have one that says score, and then has one of these dot dot, and then we're going to grab another one, and this is the one that's going to display our variable. And what we're going to do with this to make it look a little cool is we're going to come over to where it says font and drop that down, and then I'm going to make that, I don't know, 42, so the score's a little bigger than the thing that actually says score, just for interest's sake. And then move these over here a little bit so it's a bit more central. Okay, right, so click on the text block, and then we're going to hit this with a hashtag, hashtag, hashtag. You don't have to put that in, you can put anything in. It's just to display, to show how many digits you're going to have really, so you can, you know, the size that everything's going to be. And then go to bind again, create binding, and we just want to do the same thing. Cast to first person character, get player character. As first person character, we want to get score, and then plug that in, and then that'll work. And hit compile. Now what we need to do, oh, we've got an error. Oh yeah, so we haven't compiled this variable in here. So even though it knows it's there, so it can get it, but there's an error, so because it's not got access to it. But it has now because we've compiled. So next thing is we just need to set this up so it actually changes, because right now it's just set to 0. So we're going to do that in the projectile where we're doing the detecting the hit here. So what we'll do is we will come to the content at the bottom and type in projectile, and here we have a destroy enemy. So just before we do this, so I mean we could really put this anywhere, I think. Let's just put it at the end. So once we've destroyed the actor, we want to, no, we've got a, all right, so we're going to have to cast to the player as well, okay, which is fine. So all we need to do is drag out from the caster enemy and type caps to player. No, it's not called player, it's called first person character. Cast to first person character. Object can be get player character. And then from here, let's move this stuff over here a little bit, so we've got a bit of room. Okay, so from here we want to drag out and we want to get score, get the score, and then we want to also drag out and set the score. So get and set, plug in these. Now all we need to do is drag out from one of these integers and just hit the plus button, and then we'll get integer plus integer, and then whatever, we'll just put that into the set score, and whatever you put in here is what we'll add. So I'll just for now put in 1,000, and then hit compile, and then let's give this a test. So score is 0, that needs to be moved up a little bit, but you can see that, and there we go, we're starting to get our, starting to look like a game, starting to act like a game. We're getting all the feedback for the player that they need. It'll just be a case of actually adding in something for the enemy, and then we're going to go into like creating a bit of a landscape for this level to play out in. But a couple more videos and we should have this project pretty much wrapped up. So I'm going to leave it there for that one.